You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Dr. Heidi Brock. The 5 signs your relationship is over. Ladies, welcome. So at the time that we're recording this is February, the day before Valentine's Day. But honestly, for me, the most exciting thing is it's the weekend after the Super Bowl, the time that I come to the desert and hang out with family. And I am so excited to have a woman who is soon going to be your soul sister because she's super cool. Dr. Heidi Brock is here, and she talks about a lot of stuff. But I think what we're going to talk about today is around toxic relationships. And it's interesting, Dr. Heidi. So I'm going to give everyone your bio, but I had a woman on the other week, and we were talking about, so I want to start with this. I'm giving you a preview before I introduce you because I think it's fascinating that young people today and our culture, pop culture, has become very comfortable with lots of different psychological disorders, descriptions, labels that get thrown around like they mean nothing. And so I'm just going to tell you right now, we're going to talk about Taylor Swift's relationship because I want to know if you think it's toxic. So I'm just giving you a preview because, you know, the Super Bowl happened and that's what people are talking about. And I'm sort of confused, but I love just talking about this kind of stuff. So why is Dr. Heidi the best woman to talk about this with us? Well, she lived it. She spent 14 years in an extremely emotionally and narcissistically abusive relationship, and she broke the chain, got her ass free, and turned her past into her passion. She actually is a courageous liver, right? She left a 24-year career in healthcare and used her experience in her life and to become the person she needed when she was trapped, and used that experience now to help other women, and I'm guessing maybe even other men, to walk through fear and to experience a life of freedom. She's worked with hundreds and hundreds of humans to help them rid and heal their toxic relationships. She has an amazing podcast. You definitely want to check this one out. It's called It's Not Normal. I love that. It's Toxic, Rid Your Life of Toxic People podcast. Got over 1 million downloads. She's a keynote speaker, and she is a queen. So I want to just talk about this. So here I watched the Super Bowl. I don't care about Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. I just want to watch Patrick Mahomes. I just want a good football game. It's amazing. Very exciting in terms of football. I wake up the next morning and I'm seeing all this stuff, that red flags, bad relationship, Travis Kelce's toxic. And I have been wanting, it's like you appeared like at the right time. I'm like, what does an expert actually think? I mean, we only see like a tiny little snippet for those of you who don't watch football. In the game, it's really high intensity. Travis Kelce goes and like really gets aggro with his coach. They barely talk about it after the game. Both of them are just like, we love each other. And that's what's on the internet. So this may be late to the conversation by the time you're listening, but I still think it's really important. So I'm sure you've been asked this question 1 million times in the last 48 hours.
So the question, well, hi, thank you for having me, by the way.
The question is like, I mean, it's a way in to define what is toxic and how can we define that? Because I've been with my husband for 15 years. I was married to my first husband for 17 years. Like, you say shit sometimes and you do stuff when you're in a long-term relationship because people are like, he's the this and she's the that, and that's gaslighting and this is narcissism. I just wonder, like, what do you think about it? Because you do it all day long. You said 14 hours a day. You are the queen. What is going on?
14 hours a day is usually after the holidays because everybody waits to leave their bad relationships till the holidays are done. My view on some of this stuff is probably a lot different than a lot of people. So let me just lay a little groundwork really.
Please do. Let's do it.
When people, maybe you have this still, when people read your bio, and you're listening to it, like it doesn't even sound like me. It sounds so like glorified or something. And then I'm like, oh, that's just me, because I'm 100% a normal person, just like everybody else. But you read those bios and it's like, oh my gosh. But the biggest thing about me that the listeners need to know is I am not a licensed mental health professional. And I think the bio said that I'm a chiropractor, acupuncturist by trade. So when we talk about the terms, which you probably saw me smiling when you started talking about that, I don't use them.
Well, first of all, I love that.
I understand that right now, all the terms are a big deal. The position that I come from and the position that I teach from is, I don't care if they have a diagnosis. I don't care if they have an addiction. I don't care if they've had a traumatic upbringing. If it doesn't make the relationship healthy for you, it doesn't make any difference. If they're grown-ass people, if it's not healthy for you, it's not healthy for you. And so because I speak from experience, I speak in very blunt. I lay it out there. I'm very blunt. I don't sugarcoat stuff with terms that you're then going to have to go Google so you can figure out what she was talking about, because now I got to Google the terms she's talking about. And in my experience also, I try to stay away from the terms because, to your point, everybody is using them for everything.
Yes.
Right now.
Yeah.
I kind of had to laugh. Well, you know what? In the 90s, when I was a chiropractor, everybody had fibromyalgia. Then everybody was gluten intolerant. Then everybody had a peanut allergy. And now everybody's a narcissist, right? And so I very much stay away from those terms because people are using them incorrectly. They're throwing them around. And I am very respectful of your toxic personality. I see it a little bit different than a lot of the people that if you're in support groups on Facebook, it's, kill the narcissist with their own, play this narcissist game or whatever.
Right.
I have a huge support group on Facebook. We don't get to talk bad about the toxic person. We don't get to sit and play by play, mostly because everybody's been there. And my view of a toxic personality is they didn't ask to be like that. Something in their upbringing or in a diagnosis or something along their life path has given them the insecurity that makes them act out in a way and use people that make them feel secure. When we talk about the narcissistic personality disorder, that's a mental health disorder. So when people are running around calling people narcs, it almost makes my stomach turn.
Yeah, no, and that's why I got so irritated by these recent post Super Bowl pictures and posts, because I was like, there's no context. You don't know this person. You don't know what's going on with this person. I saw someone say, someone else posted in response to one of these, I'm quickly trying to Google female athletes. It was like tennis was the example of women professional athletes yelling at a line judge at Wimbledon or something like that, right? And it's like, what would you say about her? Mm-hmm. And so then that's why I'm glad we're talking about this, because it pisses me off that people are like, they're just labeling as a way to distance, and I don't know what it is, but like, I don't think it's solving the problem, right?
So I'll back up a little bit,
please. So
I'm Dr. Heidi. I always tease it's because I can't pick my last name, but that's really not it. But when this business opportunity landed in my lap, and I say landed in my lap because I would have never, ever thought that I would be doing this full-time for a living. I chose the word toxic because toxic is not a diagnosis. Toxic is an adjective. So it's an adjective that describes any relationship in the status that it's in that's unhealthy for you mentally, physically, or emotionally. And toxic can be anything from the bully on the playground all the way up to the person I ran away from to the things you're seeing on Netflix. But what drives that personality type is the same thing. So when I and you read this, it was in my bio, which I didn't even realize. I knew that if I was going to do this, I had to be able to be the person I needed, which meant I had to be able to understand it a lot better now than I did when I was in it. And so that's kind of the path I've taken. But when I chose the word toxic, because my title is Toxic Relationship Awareness and Healing Specialist, I made it up because there wasn't a title for it, right? The word toxic wasn't all over the internet.
Right.
So you could still see toxic. You can take the word toxic out and replace it with unhealthy.
Yeah.
But now if you get on any social media, it's almost like you feel like toxic is a diagnosis and there is a checklist. Okay. And so are they toxic? Check. Yes. Check. Okay. And you think if there's a list and they check all the boxes, then okay, it's not me. It's them because they've checked all the boxes for toxic. And the thing that I teach and the thing that people miss is you get to decide who in your life is healthy and who is not. And you get to decide at what social circle people get to be in. And you get to decide if you kick them out or not. And instead, we're all just trying to make sure that there's something wrong with that person so we can be validated in changing the relationship.
Oh my God. This is like literally mic drop moment, like rewind, send to your friends, etc. Because that's what I was sort of wanting to get to is like, we have to look at why is it that we are it's interesting. So and I'm not a lawyer, nor am I a doctor, but like from enough shows that I've watched, like, when you diagnose someone or you have a fact on like a legal situation, you have to prove it, right? And that proving it makes you free from the responsibility of. And so when you're talking, I'm like, that's what a lot of people are doing. They're trying to find a title so that they can be right about their choice. Mm-hmm. And we get to have those choices, but there's got to be a healthier way to do that.
Right. And one of the other things that is difficult for people to wrap their head around is someone might be unhealthy for me, but in a relationship with you, it's not unhealthy because your personality might not be the exact same as mine. So the toxicity level or the unhealthiness depends on the two personalities that are dumped into the relationship together. In answer to your question, do you think that Taylor Swift is in a toxic relationship? I have people that literally hire me to say, okay, tell me if this is toxic or not.
Right.
Okay, I can't tell you that. The only person I can tell if the relationship is toxic or not is me. What I do different than, say, a mental health provider. You were talking about diagnosing.
Yeah.
A therapist or a counselor is trained to diagnose so that they then know what treatment protocol to follow. Just like, okay, if I diagnose a rotator tear when I was practicing, then I follow the protocol for shoulder rehab, right? I don't do anything like that. I basically do education. And what I do is, I did not know this when I was in it. And I know that, I don't know if people are religious or spiritual, but the Lord basically said, Heidi, you're going to be a chiropractor for 24 years while I train you for your real job. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't know going through my former relationship that it was so extreme, but I've been doing this work for almost 9 years. And there's only been one or two that I would classify as even or more extreme than mine. But my girls and I lived in it every day. So it became very normal. Being in a relationship that's unhealthy is like walking into a room that stinks. If you stay in the room, the smell goes away, but that doesn't mean the room doesn't stink.
Right.
It means your body goes, that stinks and I don't want to make her smell that. So it turns down the sensitivity of your nose nerves. And so, my girls and I were like, well, yeah, he yells and he screams and sometimes he throws things and, he doesn't come home at night, but that's just him. I remember hearing my daughter telling a patient in the waiting room, she was telling a story about her horse. But in the meantime, it got thrown in that mom and dad had a big fight. And she was 8 years old and she's blurting this out to one of my patients. And I'm standing there like, and so the patient says, oh, well, that, I don't remember what she said. Well, that doesn't seem like very nice. And my 8-year-old said, oh, it happens every day. So anyway, I went and got the saddle for and like, she literally just, oh no, it happens every day. That's just, so my girls didn't see normal for a very long time. So when we go back to the Taylor Swift thing,
yeah,
nobody gets to judge but she.
Yes, I said you were the queen, right? Like, well, how the hell do we know?
Right, and the thing baseline really quick. What I do is, what do you do for a living?
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm a life coach and dating and relationship coach.
I already knew that. I just made you say that out loud.
Oh, I was like, that's weird that you're on my show and you don't know that, but I love that you trust me so much.
Because I already stalked you, but I needed you to say that because you and we basically do the same thing. We are wired with the same personality, and I knew this from reading some of your stories on your website. Right. We're the kind, caring, loving, giving, fix-it, supporter, peacekeeper, conflict avoider. That's us.
Love, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, I use this example. Oh, you need brownies? for a funeral for a guy that died that doesn't have family, and if I don't bake him at 3:30 in the morning, then there's not going to be any brownies at his funeral. Oh, yes, I'll do it. And you know what? I think there's another guy that's getting close to dying. So just in case he doesn't have any family, and we're changing our plan, and we're changing our schedule, and we're dropping friends, and so that we can accommodate to everybody else, because you and I feel fulfilled in our life when we help people.
Yes. No longer in that way. But yes, that is my age-old forever pattern is how can I make this good for you?
What more can I do for you?
Yeah.
And in that, the priority level of us goes way down.
Yes.
So your toxic personality, even though that just is unhealthy, they have a personality that is insecure for some reason, insecure in themselves. You and I know that if we work out, if we eat right, if we put a lot into our business, if we're being super mom and our kids are loving us right now and obeying, and our husband brings us flowers, we are investing in our own life. That's what makes us feel self-secure. Okay. Your personality that doesn't feel so much secure in themselves will look for things that give them the things that they feel secure. So when I said the toxic personality, a lot of them didn't ask to be like this. Perhaps they had a traumatic upbringing and they had to learn how to function and how to use people to get what they needed. Well, if they were brought up that way without a lot of emotional connection, they're not going to have a lot of emotion developed, and they're going to lie to stay out of trouble, and they're going to sneak to get what they need. And so you end up with people that have to use other people to make them feel secure. And who's the perfect target? Oh, the kind, caring, loving, giving, fix-it, supporter, peacekeeper, conflict avoid.
I was just going to say, and that person is also sort of using those people to feel needed, right? Like, or using over-functioning or over whatever, we're all just glad to get by.
And yes, it will prove that you're lovable. And so in reality, that personality targets our personality because they know we will do that.
Yeah. And I say my ex-husband, I was like, we were two perfectly puzzle pieces, right? That were one dysfunction and another dysfunction come together perfectly to meet our unhealthy needs. And that's kind of what you're talking about. You're like, hey, I'm a fixer. Hey, I'm going to make you feel like shit, so you have to fix it. Yeah, let's date.
Yeah, except that we don't realize we're fixers because and you know what? They don't realize they're doing that either. If they've grown up, your day-to-day is second nature. Yeah, they might have an affair. That's premeditated. They might hide money. That's premeditated. But when they come in the house and say something like, how come you're loading the dishwasher like that? It's literally second nature. So they get your attention and they feel power because they criticized you. They don't think, I'm going to go in the house and I'm going to criticize her for loading the dishwasher. Like, it's just such second nature to them that they just do it. So when you ask if somebody's toxic or not, it's literally up to you. But if you think back, now I'm going to go out on a limb here because I'm assuming.
Okay. I love it. Assume.
Because I did a little research. In your former relationship, because you just said you felt like it was this tug of war. And basically what you were is you were two people in a relationship that thought you were working towards the same goals. And then as it ended up, the goals of the relationship were different.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, it's really funny that you said the dishwasher, because one of my girlfriends, after I got told her, I'm leaving my first marriage, she said, I knew that you guys were not supposed to be together when he started criticizing which bowl you used to prepare ice cream when our families got together. And I was like, pretty much, it didn't matter what it was, from the loading the dishwasher to why are you using that bowl, everything was not exactly right. Yeah. I was, oh, okay, which one is right?
Yes, okay, and if you think about that, why would they say that? Because then your attention's on them. I used the dishwasher example in a podcast once, and I literally just pulled it out of the air. I think I had 20 messages that said, how did you know I got criticized about loading the dishwasher? That's what makes my job easy. Once I understand them, they're all the same. But how many times did you look in that relationship, your first one, and think, how come you can't act normal?
I think I did at the end. I think at the beginning I was like, what's wrong? Like, I need to fix this. Like, you
thought there was something to fix.
Yeah, right. Like, I need to fix it. But at the end, and I think this is why, we wake up, our soul wakes up and goes, like you said, like 24 years preparing for the thing. I was like, oh, wait, actually, this isn't right. Like you're fucked up and you don't even own it or care. And so I can't love your butt.
Okay, so I'll stop you right there. This is my opinion, right, bro?
Yeah.
You look at these people and think, how come you can't act normal?
Yeah.
Like, how come you can't be nice? Our personality is, we already said this, the good, kind, caring, loving. So when we look at them and think, how come you can't act normal? It's because they're not acting like us.
Exactly. And that is so true, right?
So, and because we have this emotional, over-helpful personality, it's the only way we know how to see the world. So when somebody doesn't act like us, we think they're not acting normal. So we have these big, long talks and we sit down and we tell them how they hurt us. And if they could just change, and we think it's going to sink in, and some morning they're going to wake up and they're going to act like us, which is what we think is normal. Right. And in reality, we're looking at them through our emotionally wired eyes, and they are actually acting 100% completely normal for the personality that they've been given. So what I do is, you and I only see the world through emotionally wired eyes. You are always going to go, can you believe they did this? I can't believe they did that. It's because we don't see the world through their eyes. And so what I teach is, I know the toxic personality better than the toxic personality does. Because as I mentioned, it's second nature to them. If you tell them they're doing this, no, they're not. Right. I don't know how, because it's part of them. So if let's just say that you're working and you have a boss, and I've used this a couple times in the last couple weeks, but you show up at work and your boss says, I have a promotion for you. And you're like, oh, good. What is it? Well, your office is going to be down the hall, the farthest one on the left. Your lunch hour is at 2:30 and you have to wear red pants. But you only have till 8:30 tomorrow morning to let me know if you want it, because otherwise I'm going to offer it to somebody else and your boss leaves. Are you going to be able to make a decision on if you want that job by 8:30 tomorrow morning?
Me or?
Yeah, just say that. Would you be able to make a decision on that?
Yeah.
How?
Like
You don't know what the job description is. You don't know what the pay is.
Well, for me, I would be like, I don't want to wear red pants. I don't want to, I don't want those hours. And so that wouldn't work for me. But that's me at 57. And probably he at like 27 would have been like in a different headspace.
But still, you'd go, okay, what am I making? What's the job description and why am I wearing red pants? Like, it'd be very difficult for you to make a good, solid education decision on, do I want this job or not? Right. And so just because there's only half the information, you don't even know.
Right. Yeah.
Well, when you're trying to decide if you should stay in a relationship or if you should leave, you're making a decision based only on the information you have coming from your emotionally wired perspective.
Got you. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So what I teach is, okay, but let's look at every situation through the direction and the perspective that the toxic personality sees it from.
Okay, great.
As soon as you can see it that way, you can go, well, I remember going, you got to be fucking kidding me. This is so easy. And then I was just like, I can't believe I missed it. I did 14 years in that, and this is what it is. Because when you could
tell me, so explain more. Because give us an example. So when you say through the eyes of the toxic person, what does that mean exactly?
So you and I see everything emotionally. You could have looked at your first relationship and gone, logically, I know this relationship isn't healthy for me. But then emotions got involved. And there was kids. And you had invested time. And now we've got family. That's all emotional. So then you go, oh, well, maybe it's not that bad because, right?
Yeah.
That's all your perspective emotionally. So when I'll use the dishwasher example.
Okay.
You are in the kitchen and you're loading the dishwasher and you're kind of on edge because you're never really sure what person's going to walk through the door, right?
Right.
The only thing predictable about a toxic personality is they're unpredictable.
Okay.
And the only thing consistent is that they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
So you're constantly kind of in survival mode trying to anticipate what's coming so you can keep the peace. So you're loading the dishwasher and you hear the door slam. And immediately you have a pain in your stomach because when the door slams, you know, probably not going to be the best night. But you hearing the door slam immediately goes, oh, I better be on best behavior. I better watch my words. The kids should go to their room and be quiet. That's the perspective you see it because immediately you want to keep the peace.
Right.
you see it from their perspective. Why would they come in and slam the door?
Because they had a bad day, or they're angry because they got traffic, or their boss gave them shit, or whatever it is, right?
That's the excuse you would use to justify why they slammed the door. You would go, well, they had a bad day. No, they slammed the door so that the minute they walked in the house, everybody's attention was on them.
See, I clearly don't understand how their brain works. So I guess they're in a bad mood.
Yeah. And then we accept it. They're in a bad mood and we all accommodate. So then they walk in the kitchen and you've been loading the dishwasher like this for 12 years. It's worked. The dishes get clean, right? And he says, I've been loading the dishwasher like that. And you really want to say, this is how I've always loaded it. But you know, there might be a fight if you do that. So you just kind of sugarcoat and go, oh, well, how would you load it? Or they start showing you how, they would load it. And you immediately feel like, what? I can't do my job. How is it that the dishes have got clean for 12 years and now all of a sudden you think they're not going to get clean, right? But because we avoid conflict, we kind of bite our tongue and we try not to snap back and we try not to say, I've been doing it. We just kind of let it flow. But tomorrow, when you go to load the dishwasher, you are not going to say, how do I want to load the dishwasher? You're going to say, how do I think they think I should load the dishwasher so I don't get in trouble for loading it wrong again?
Got it. Okay.
Or you go to the beauty shop and think, I'm going to get my hair trimmed. But when you're there, you just decide it's spring and you hack it all off and you've been wearing the same messy bun for 8 months. And so you're feeling confident and you have you have all this new hair and a style and you come home and they say something like, I thought I told you I like you with your hair long. Okay. If you're a grown woman, you get to decide how your hair is styled, right?
Right.
But because they say, I only like you with your hair long, that's just them seeing if you'll accommodate to them. The next time you go to the beauty shop, you don't say, how does Heidi want to wear her hair? You go, how do I think they want me to wear my hair so that I can be approved of and accepted and keep the conflict down? They don't really care how you're loading the dishwasher, but they're going to make you believe they care so that they're basically in control. Now, criticism, when somebody criticizes you, what's the first thing we teach our kids? Don't criticize, don't pick people apart, don't belittle, don't call names. Yet we have grown-ass people calling names and cussing and swearing and criticizing the person that is their life partner that they love, because what do they get out of criticism? If I can make you...
I don't even know anymore. I don't know the right answer. I'm clearly failing in the toxic.
I love this, and I love that you're being such a good sport, because this is how I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it the same way you do, but now I know that the toxic personality needs to feel secure, and control and power make them feel secure. So it's the bully on the playground. If I can make
okay,
I feel better. And where is your attention when somebody's criticizing you?
Where's my attention when someone is criticizing me? On myself, not on them, right? So it deflects. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's on them, because why are they criticizing how you're loading the dishwasher? They don't care if it's positive or negative attention. On the days they're nice and are going to take you on a date, they get your positive attention. On the days that they're mean and want to yell at you about the dishwasher, they get your negative attention.
Got it. But it's still attention.
It's still attention. And so really basically what I do is I teach 21 character traits of the toxic person. And I have a flow chart. When I have a private client, we go through a flow chart. This is the flow chart that describes the toxic personality. And when you go through a divorce, they're not going to change. And when you're co-parenting with them, they're not going to change. So by the time people are done working with me, if people ever get done working with me, some people I'll get a text 3 years later that now they're dating somebody else and they need to know. When I work with people, I want them to know the toxic personality so well that they can take my job next year.
Right. So they know, they're not asking you. They know they can read it, they can figure it out, and they know what's best for them.
And then we're not going out into the wild blue yonder where we can't trust anyone. No, if you know this and you dig back and get your identity, we give up our values and we give up what we stand for and we accept things we shouldn't accept. So you really have to put the work in when you get out of these to find yourself back. And when you do, you shouldn't have to worry about trusting anyone else, because finally you're going to
trust yourself,
see the red flag and choose yourself. Seeing the red flags isn't hard. Making yourself a priority and not going, oh, they just had a bad day.
Right. And compensating. No, for sure. I think that's such a huge thing. And I will tell you, like, I just wrote this book about my husband and I sold our house and we live in LA, and we, decided to figure out like what really blows our hair back. And we lived in an RV for like years together, very small space. And so I will tell you, he was critical at times, and part of that journey for me was being like, I don't give a like, this is because wherever you are, there you go. Right. Like, so whether you're in the house, whether you're in the thing, right? And so now what am I going to do about it? So what I love about this conversation is that you're basically giving this evidence of like, this is how these people are. They have their emotionally wired eyes. Is that how you called it?
No, we have emotionally wired eyes. They don't have a ton of emotion.
So their eyes are wired like power and control. Is that what
their eyes are wired? They can't really make themselves feel secure in themselves. So they place people in their life that give them the things they need, which is the power, the control, the attention. And your emotionally abusive person is going to say and do things to make you feel certain things, like make you feel guilty, because that will get you to do, what they want. Now, I want to go back to the living in a small space and being criticized. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know anything about your former relationship. I should have made you go on my website and take the test so I know exactly. But I'm thinking, would you get into this small space with the love of your life, who you feel very safe with? Correct?
Yeah, no, I love him. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I am remarried also. I would marry this man every day. Not that we agree on everything, but
right.
But very safe with him. But through your former relationship, you kind of took on everything as your problem to fix.
Right.
When's the last time you vacuumed the floor? Oh, and you jump up and you go get the vacuum and you go, okay, now that's it. Or, I don't have any underwear. Okay, well, then you whatever. And so when you're living in a small space like that, even though this is a completely different relationship, it's a completely different person, it's a person that logically you should feel safe with, your body has gotten so used to responding in a way that's going to keep you safe that your first instinct is to fix everything that he's being critical about, regardless of if it's your safe person, because you've been programmed to try and keep conflict down. So you're used to kind of...
I didn't do that, actually. I was like, perfectionist. If you actually... because it happened pretty quickly, because there's a lot of techie stuff in a big RV, a 40-foot RV, right? And I went in there being like, because we like went on the road for 6 weeks and we tested it. And I was like, okay, we're going to be like partners. We're going to do this. And after like a week, I was like, what? We don't need, just because everyone else does it that way. I'm like,
you don't have to.
You do it. I'm like, I want to get out of the car. I go, this is my job. I get my earpods on. I get in the Jeep. And then I drive to the next spot. And then you can do all the other tech stuff. So I don't want to do it.
Would you have been that same way with your first, or would you have been like right there to help hand?
No. The way you were describing it, the first, but I was aware, but I was super aware, right? I was like, wait, I'm starting to do that, to your point, right? And then I was like, this is so fun.
Okay, so you said you were starting to do that. I mean, you caught yourself doing it.
I caught myself doing it. And here's what's crazy is I remember like one of the first places we went, we were like doing something. And this older couple was watching, because that's what it's like parking a boat in an RV park. Everybody watched it. And this older couple came and we were chatting, and I was saying like, I don't help. Like my man, he's really actually good at doing all this by himself. And they were like, well, that's not how you do it. You need to be a team. Like they were prescribing, right? Like how it's supposed to be. And I remember having this moment of like, almost being like, wait, we need to figure out how to work together to do this. And then I was like, no, we don't. Like, you're good at it. It makes you the adrenaline. You loved it.
I love that, because that's the difference. Because we go back to the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Whoever's criticizing you about loading the dishwasher isn't good at loading the dishwasher. You are. But they still want to tell you how to do it. So those are some of the things that you'll notice the difference between a healthy or an unhealthy relationship.
Right.
We get very apt to try and anticipate when we're in a bad relationship.
Yes.
Yes, you get used to paying attention to what they're saying or doing, because you have to keep yourself safe. So you're constantly, and when you do that, you don't ever go one more step and go, yeah, they're doing this and they're saying this, but why? And let's just say on Tuesday you have a really bad day and there's a big fight and you're crying and you hide in the closet, and And the next day you really feel like you need some closure and you're going to have one of those talks that maybe then they'll act like you, and you get up and they act like nothing happened and they're in a good mood. So now we know we can't bring up what happened on Tuesday because that's now going to ruin Wednesday. And right now they're in a good mood. So we take everything from Tuesday, we shove it under the rug. And
you talking about it is making me tired.
yes, is that not the truth? And I think that's why it was almost, let's see, when did I start this? 15? It was almost 6 years after I left before I started doing this, because it literally just makes you go, and
yeah, it's like it's exhausting. And I really think what I want everyone to hear is what you said at the beginning, which is like, you just get used to it and you don't realize that you're doing it until, you're like, shit.
And then when you think about getting out, now there's so many unknowns getting out. It's always easier to stay in something that's familiar than to step into something you don't know. So when you think about getting out of one of these relationships, you look at this big mountain and all these what ifs. What if he takes the kids? Well, what if she, takes all the money? What if, and you've now learned to navigate within this stinky room. So it's comfortable to you. So now you're like, I don't know for sure what's going to happen out there. So I'm just going to stay here. Even if it's really bad, at least I've learned.
Don't do it.
Yes. But I know, me telling people to leave, my mom and dad, I left 6 times. I did not get away from my former until the 7th time I left. And when I left, I ran away, and we had already been divorced for 2 years.
Yeah. So it was deep to get.
And yes, and nothing changed. We had a practice together. I ended up leaving my girls, but the divorce decree from 2 years before had said 50-50. But he refused to sign a parenting plan, and he kept him for 5 years.
It's a lot, right? It takes a lot to get out. That's why you need to call Dr. Heidi.
Well, and there's people out there listening and now going, how come she didn't take him back to court? 1, I couldn't fight with him one more day. And 2, my daughters did not have the example of the mom that they needed, because I was just as frightened of him as they were. And I knew I was going to, if I was going to be the mom that they needed and the example, I was going to have to put some work in. I also knew that if I kept covering up, oh, he just had a bad day. Oh, he just loves you. Oh, they would be 40 years old. They'd still be living in his basement. They'd still be doing all the work for him and be completely controlled. So I knew my girls were tough. They had been in it as long as I did. They're little cowgirls. When you say park the RV, I used to haul with a Freightliner, a 43-foot trailer. And, so I totally get that. And the guys are out there trying to help. But I knew that my kids would have to see his true colors, because they needed to learn. And they ran away five years later.
Yep, 100%. And I think like what you said again at the beginning is so powerful. Like when you're in it, I believe like your soul is just on this journey because it's taking you somewhere, right? And so when people are like, oh, I wasted all this time, or it took me so long, or I wish I would have. And it's like, you're only ready when you're ready. You need to go through every single part of it. I mean, the name of my company is Institute for Living Courageously, because in the end, that's what it takes. And we all get courageous at different points. So whenever you hear this, forget what happened last week or yesterday. What are you going to do today? What's your next best move?
Yep. And I think, there's people that come to me kind of like you did with your question about Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
They want me to tell them what they should do. Okay. I already know you're not going to leave until you're ready to leave. So I tell them, you need this information, whether you stay in it or you get out of it. I don't care whether you stay in and get out of it. If you want to work with me and you're in it for the next 2 years, I will be right here in your back pocket, because I know exactly what it's like. And you're never going to hear me say, relationships are work. And you're never going to hear me say, why don't you just leave? Right. Or because if it was that easy, you would have already done that.
100%. It's funny. I had someone say I was in an unhealthy situation about feeling judged. And I was like, honey, first of all, I was that person after my divorce. I mean, I was when I was married, then I got divorced, then I did it again, which is ultimately how I figured it all out.
You just had to make sure.
I had to make sure. I was like, I don't know, he's cuter, whatever. Maybe it'll be different. But the thing is, there is no judgment, right? Because like you said, like we're just here to say, like, this is what we see. These are the possibilities. But everyone, like, you're listening to this, whatever part of your journey you're on and it resonates for you, like, we're here because I've been through it, you've been through it. And in the end, what you said too, well, that was my why, was like, for me was I have 3 daughters. And I was like, right. Yeah, I was like, I need to figure this out for them, because if they see me like this, then they're just going to do it again. So we have to put the kibosh on that right now.
Yeah, actually, it was funny because when I was stalking you, I saw that you had 3 daughters, and I was going to tell you one of mine's a stepdaughter. But yeah, I have 3, and they knew why I left, and they knew that if one of us didn't get out of there, we might all still be there. But I'm super thankful. My mom, I used to call my mom. Now, she was in Montana at the time, so she was really far away. And I learned that I couldn't continue to tell her everything because she couldn't really help. And then, so she would say, and I'm sure it's because she didn't know how to support. They tried every way they could.
Right.
I would go, and she would say, Heidi, everything happens just like it's supposed to. And I remember thinking, thanks. That literally helps me, like, not at all. But now looking back, I ended up meeting the man that I'm married to now at a rodeo. And if I would have left one of the time, because my daughters were rodeoing pro when they were very, very young. So they couldn't drive. So who was driving?
Yeah. That's on those big horse trails.
On Love's Coffee, tried to, and if I would have not gone back the last time, I would have never met the man that I'm married to now. And in September, we'll have been married for 12 years. So now when I look back at my mom saying everything happens like it's supposed to, I believe it. And now knowing the work that I do, and then I'm able to use my past to help other people, now it makes sense what I went through, because when I was in it, I kept thinking, I feel like I'm a good person. I don't know what I did to end up in this. Did we deserve to be treated like that? No, but I wouldn't want to go through it again, but I don't regret going through it because I love what I do now.
100%. I feel the same way. I always say that was the best, worst time. And, years ago, even my kids were like in their early 20s. They were like, and they, they have their relationship with their dad, and he's been kind and generous to me ever since we got divorced. But they were like, I totally get like why you guys aren't together. And that's good. Like, I totally get it, And that's, to me, that I was like, oh my God, I never even thought I would hear that ever. But like, thank you very much for acknowledging that. So I love this. It's just really about, don't use it. What I'm hearing is, don't look for a label just to defend that you're unhappy or that something doesn't feel healthy for you. Like, you're valid, you're justified.
Yep. And you don't have to prove it to anybody. So I host a lot of groups. I do a lot of private, but at the end of one of my groups, I read the quote that has made, well, I don't have to read it anymore. I just say it, but that has made the most impact in my life. And it was after my girls came back, I saw traits that were similar. And so I called my dad because it was upsetting to see traits of my former in my girls. Well,
right.
Of course, my dad reminded me, well, they're half his, of course. But he said, Heidi, you're never going to have inner peace until you accept people for who they are, not who you want them to be. And your former didn't ask to be like that, but you have to accept him for who he is and let him go be who he is, just not in your life. And I had not have spoken to him for 13 or 14 years. And just last week, my oldest had to get out of a relationship, and he had broke her phone. And so she called me from work. I told her to go to her dad's. After 13 and a half years, I had to send my former a text to make sure my daughter had made it. Otherwise, there had been no contact at all since I had left. And it was the best feeling because my heart rate didn't go up. Because I know exactly how he was going to act, why he would act that way. And I handled it very well. Now, my youngest has not spoken to her dad in 6 or 7 years. She's wired very much like me, and him in her life at any level is detrimental to her. So, and I had to respect that too. My oldest, she can have him in her life. She keeps him, where she's safe. My youngest, she'll see something pop up on her phone that looks like his name, and she'll just like that.
Oh no!
But I am proud of them being able to go, I know what my level of safety is, and this is what I'm going to go. Now they're 28 and 26 now. I respect, she may have a relationship with him if she wants. That's none of,
right.
I'm not getting.
Right. No, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that.
Did good being the moms.
Oh yeah. Well,
we look back and go,
why? You got to find
look back and think, how did our kids survive? But
I know it's crazy.
But every mom probably does that.
Exactly. Well, I really appreciate you being here. This has just been brilliant, amazing, empowering, interesting. I hope that those of you who are listening, check out Dr. Heidi Brockie. The links to her, she did a toxicity profile analysis, because even though she has said that she can't answer the question, is your relationship toxic? She can help you figure that out for yourself through this amazing assessment she has. So coachingwithdrheidi.com/toxicity/hyphen-analysis. But the link is going to be
just notes. Just coaching with Dr. Heidi will get you right to the link.
Exactly. Coaching with Dr. Heidi. Ladies, oh my gosh. I mean, so many amazing tidbits in this episode. So make sure that you rewind it, you listen again, you share it with your girlfriend, tell her, I'm not judging you. I just thought you'd find this interesting.
I don't want to interrupt you, but what you just said reminded me of something. It's one of my podcast episodes that I recorded so somebody who is in the situation can forward it to their support system that doesn't understand. What I did is I explained it from a different perspective. So if you have a mom that says, Heidi, everything happens like it's supposed to because she has never been in the situation, there is an episode that you can send to your support system so they understand a little bit more about emotional abuse.
Awesome. So definitely go to the website, coachingwithdrheidi.com, re-listen, share, find that episode, and whatever it is that you need to do, make sure you always life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Battista, and let's talk soon.